Guys, welcome back. Episode 22 of the Inside Sports Podcast. Yes, the DE is capitalized. We're jumping right in. Softball. They went 2-2 this past week with a win against SLU, and they went 1-2 against Evansville. Is that their first losing weekend series?
It has to.
It might be. Because I think they only dropped
They
one
lost
to Belmont.
another series on the road, too.
Was it Belmont? But
No, I think it was Belmont.
Oh, yeah,
did
that's
they only
right.
lose
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
or maybe it was two?
Yeah.
Nevertheless, it's not like this team's slowing down or anything. We don't want to overreact. However, kind of sucks to get that first loss, but we expect it. We're sitting at 29-7 right now, 10-4 in the Missouri Valley. We got a big game tomorrow night for us against SEMO, and then a weekend series against UNI. Joe, tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, something I was just wanting to point out, at least just looking at kind of the schedule and everything. In true road games, they're just barely a 500 team, which is so interesting to me because it kind of mentions in that way that a lot of them were not true road games, where it's like a tournament early on in the year so far. And I guess that also just says a lot about how early it is in the conference season so far too. But they're 5-4 in true road games when they play at the other team's home stadium.
To specify, they did lose Belmont. They lost 2 games at
Yes,
Belmont. So,
yes.
yeah, just to specify that before you continue on with your point, because that's what you're talking about. It's a little worrisome.
When they're away from Carbondale and the other team has the home field advantage, that's just a bit concerning, at least so far. But nevertheless, I still think it's not really a huge worrisome this past weekend. Every team has a weekend or two there. Every great team has a weekend or two there where they slow down a little bit, at least offensively. And that's what kind of happened the last 2 games of the series. We just played. Who did we just play?
Evansville.
We just played Evansville.
Just
Yeah.
played Evansville.
Won the midweek at SLU.
That's kind of what happened the last 2 games against Evansville. But I just wanted to mention we got UNI upcoming this weekend. I feel like that'll be a pretty groundbreaking series for this team for the rest of the season. They're the number 1 team in the conference right now. If we want to prove ourselves as the top team in the conference, like we know we are, I feel like, at least in terms of overall record, they need to take that series, and especially it's on the road too, so that's a bit concerning considering what I just mentioned, some of their road concerns this year. So,
But I got you written right here. Luckily, the tournament is here in Carbondale this year. That is very, very beneficial.
huge point.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how we got that bid in general. I don't know. Do they do it in a rotation wise by team? I'm not
I'm not
sure.
really sure. I
Yeah,
think it was
what
here
that
pretty
is.
recently. I think maybe like 2 or 3 years ago was here as well. So I'm not really sure what goes into that.
Interesting. Nonetheless, Jordan, any additional thoughts on the softball team?
Yeah, not too much. I mean, we've talked about this a lot with a young team. You expect these dips in the season, even with as hot of a start as they were on. It's still a young team, still not the most. I don't think chemistry is an issue really, especially in the field, which is where I've noticed a lot of struggles. I think the point we're at now, especially going against these amazing teams like you and I on the road again, you don't want to get into a spot where you're heavily relying on Maddie Everly to be perfect, because she had been a lot up to this point. That's why they got a lot of wins, where in Thursday's game they score 17 runs and you're thinking, okay, this is going to be another easy series against a lower tier MVC opponent, and then we come back the next 2 days.
Evansville, you are lower tier. We should just put that out there.
Well,
Evansville, you're not
they're
at
lower
SIU's
tier,
level.
taking 2 out of 3 against us, they won away.
That's an accusation.
But then, the next couple of games, the pitching wasn't bad, between Stinson, Everly, and Hockerman, and yet we don't get the win because the offense isn't able to just muster a few other runs. I mean, credit to Evansville for not just giving up after one crazy blowout and coming back and beating one of the better teams in the league. But again, we're entering a point now where it kind of feels like the men's basketball team and football team almost. Like they both got off to really, really hot starts. This being the hottest of them all.
Yes.
But now this mid-season dip, is it going to we saw this in volleyball and soccer too, really with all SIU sports this year, so that kind of stinks. But needless to say, is this going to spiral, or are we going to get this back? Like you said, this weekend series versus UNI is huge for not only team morale, but just for the conference in general. And you don't want to slide to a 5 or 6 seed and make your road to a potential conference championship that much harder, even though it is here.
It's absolutely right. And so for the baseball team, they went 4-0 this past week. They beat Lindenwood and rooting them 14-2. I mean, it was really not a contest. And then they went and had a tough weekend series against Belmont. Belmont came here, actually. And they won all 4 games. It's really, really impressive. We're happy to see that. Now sitting at 19-13, 8-1 in the conference. That's looking. How do you say that in Spain? Muy bonito? No, bonito's not.
Muy bueno.
Muy bueno. Whatever it is. It's looking.
It's also muy bonito too.
Yeah. So, okay. See, that's
Yeah,
what I was
very
talking
beautiful.
about. Yeah. Nevertheless, it's looking great. We've got a game once again tomorrow. Does SEMO come here? SEMO comes here.
SEMO comes
Yes.
here.
Yeah. The softball they go to Cape Girardeau, but so super big Tuesday for us. Just a random Tuesday against SEMO.
Big.
But then weekend series versus look at that Evansville that they're going to have to show out for. Joe, give me your thoughts on kind of this little midseason turnaround.
Yeah, the first thing I want to know, I feel like we're getting a bit stronger of starts from our starting pitching outside of Ben Chapman. He actually was the one that ended up struggling a little bit this week. But Jordan, you say
Blummer.
Blummer.
Like plumber.
Blummer.
Yes.
With a B. Blummer?
Yes.
Okay,
Like,
got it.
like
Just want to
plumber.
make sure.
Blummer. Yeah.
Jordan Blummer, he went 6 1/3 innings, and then we had that all-staff pitching game on Tuesday. We only had the 2 runs. I feel like we blew them out on that Tuesday.
Yes,
Absolutely.
14-2.
14,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it was. But we're getting a bit stronger starts from our pitching staff, and I don't know what to think too much of it because I know Belmont isn't necessarily the greatest team, at least in our conference. I think they only have like 3 conference wins so far, and then we beat Belmont. we did pretty well in Belmont, but I know they're not one of the top tier MVC teams, and Lindenwood is kind of struggling this year too. But I mean, nevertheless, you can only play who you play on the schedule, and we did fairly well recently. So it's looking up for this team, and just in general. I want to know, is Matthew Steidel back to form? He's had some pretty good outings lately, at least not allowing a run, but that's a lot better than what he was at least at the beginning of the year. And then Easton Dermody, is he doing a lot better as a bullpen guy, a closer guy? Is that where he belongs at this point? It's just interesting to me because I know he was a starter at least at the beginning of the year. So that's how he transitioned into that role. It's very cool to see. And then Matt Shark, he had that walk-off this week. 2 homers just in general this week. And then he's just making a name for himself on this team. Our guy Ryan Rodriguez, we mentioned a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
He talked highly of Matt Shark as a home run hitter on this team, and he's finally hitting that stride. So we love to see it.
He's like the opposite of Mike Trout. Matt Shark.
Matt Shark, Mike
Matt
Trout.
Shark. Not spelled exactly like Shark. All right, Jay Cruz over there in the Cubbies t-shirt over there. Thoughts on baseball?
Yeah, I do feel bad. You guys coordinated with the SI, well, maybe not on purpose, but with the nice SIU stuff, and I'm here
Definitely.
not wearing SIU stuff. So I should have done that. I did think about wearing a shirt today, but for some reason I just did. You touched on it a little bit, Joey, with Dermody coming out of the bullpen being a lot more effective. A guy that I think has been the most effective so far out of the bullpen that starting games was Paul Bonzani coming out of the bullpen. Had a fantastic game on Sunday, and I don't know if you guys saw that game on Sunday. SIU had 14 hits and only scored 3 runs up till the very end, the bottom of the 12th, when Shark hit another one to the left center, and the Belmont center fielder just dropped it. So many chances in that game to score. I think it kind of masked the dominance that we had over a good Belmont team over this past weekend. The starting pitching, again, like I've said from the beginning, it will be the question mark, and it will be the biggest X factor as to how far this team can go. And so far in conference play, they've been fantastic. Another sweep this weekend, and I guess Chapman, Blummer, and then Tanner Lewis, who started on Sunday, maybe that will be the weekend rotation going forward. If it is, I'm pretty confident Lewis has really improved. He's the kind of the reverse of Dermody and Bonzani. Started in the bullpen, but since he's become a starter, he's actually been a lot more effective. So that will be something to keep track of. And then the last thing I've noticed, and to say that he's struggling is a little bit unfair. Struggle is like hitting like in the 100s, and you're not really getting any sort of powers. Kaber Rogg is hitting like 250 on the year, coming back from his MVC Player of the Year performance last year. Something just seems off with him, and I think he'd be the first to tell you that as well. If he can get going, the sky is the absolute limit for this team. But they're playing well without him being, that star anyway. So I think there's a lot to be excited about with this team. Kind of the opposite of the softball team. Started out pretty rough. I think they were 9-12. Now they've won 10 of 11. 8-1 in conference play. And if I told you before the season that we'd be 19-13, after starting as MVC preseason favorite, you might think that was a little disappointing. But right now we're saying 19-13, 8-1 in conference. Obviously needs a little bit more, and we're happy about it. So let's go.
The 8-1 looks very nice.
It looks awesome.
I just hear a "Let's go" from Jordan.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
LETSGO. Let's go. Let's go. Hello, folks. On this week's episode of Saluki Space, we have our ace pitcher for the SIU baseball team, Ben Chapman, here with us. Thank you so much for joining us, Ben.
Thank you guys for having me.
We appreciate it. And so we're going to go right ahead and jump into the questions. First off, there's so many great baseball movies. I wanted to know, what's your favorite one?
That's a tough one. As a kid, could probably still recite every line to Sandlot. But,
Sandlot's always a classic.
Yeah, classic. But now, probably Moneyball.
Moneyball's a
Yeah,
really great
love
one
it.
with Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. I think, haven't I referenced Moneyball
You
on the
have.
pod
I
before?
think you have
I definitely
multiple
have.
times.
I just love Moneyball.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big Brad Pitt fan too, but
Absolutely.
absolutely. And so let's say it's bottom of the ninth, right? Hypothetically, we're gonna say this guy's on our team, but who on our team, SIU's team, would you not want to pitch against in the bottom of the ninth? Somebody that comes to mind?
A lot of options.
There are.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Any guy that maybe was here last year or the year before, potentially.
I-
Well, if you want to expand it.
I don't. It's hard to pick one because, like in the fall, we pitch against those guys so much that, man, they've seen all of our pitches so many times. It's like a recorder. Just
Right.
going in
Yeah.
and you see the same guys every time.
Sure.
But it's hard to pick one guy. I mean, they're all talented in their own way. So I think like when you face our lineup in the fall, you've already faced probably one of the better lineups, if not the best lineup you're gonna see all year. So it's kind of like the iron sharpens iron type of thing.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So you keep up with a lot of college baseball outside of just the MVC. Obviously, are you on like social media and you're looking at all these clips potentially?
Yeah, I've got a lot of buddies that play, and one of my best friends plays at Indiana Tech, so I follow him. I follow all my buddies at Indiana State. So
when watching those games, some of the bigger conferences have pitch clocks already implemented, and next year potentially that could be coming down to this level. Is that something that you think that would be an easy transition at this level, or do you think that it's something that might take a year or two to get used to?
I think it's going to be a difficult transition because, like, if you're a basketball player, you've got the shot clock, and you can look up on the scoreboard, see the shot clock, and be like, "Oh, okay, I've got to shoot the ball."
Mm-hmm.
When you're a pitcher, there's no visual board or clock. It's just a mental clock that you kind of have to have.
Absolutely.
And throughout a game that might get thrown off, no matter what the situation might be. But there's never a visual. Okay, this is how much time I have.
Right. Absolutely.
So I think if that could be implemented into the game, maybe behind the catcher, behind the umpire, wherever it's at, then it would be an easier transition for sure.
As someone who's watched it on TV or whatever, are you a fan of it, or are you kind of?
I can see where if a pitcher's taking a minute, 2 minutes to throw in between every pitch, like for sure that game's gonna take 3-4 hours, and you're gonna be like, holy cow!
Yeah.
Like let's get the pace of play
Absolutely.
going. But when I'm on the mound, I want to catch the ball and throw again right away, and I actually have to slow myself down throughout the game, so it's not something that would really concern me. But I don't know. It's hard for me to say just because I haven't experienced it too much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get that. And so, we're obviously doing a little background on you. You played at Lincoln Land College over in Springfield, and it says that you were a two-way player in JUCO as a pitcher and a catcher. How do you go about how'd you go about doing both those things? And was there ever a point in which a coach was like, either maybe you're better at this thing, you should put all of your effort into that, or maybe they needed you at the catcher? Like, how did that go about?
Yeah, so I was always a catcher in high school, pitched. It's just something that I've done since I just started playing baseball. And it was just second nature to me to pitch and catch and just do whatever I was asked to do. And I didn't really have to specify a position until I got here, just because of the demands at this level. To be successful at one position is really hard.
Gotcha.
And to be successful at two is like the amount of practice time that takes and the amount of attention to detail is crazy. And shout out to the guys who can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so when you talk about this next level, right? Obviously, the guy that recruited you, Coach Rhodes. What's it like playing for him? How do you go about playing for a coach that's had a lot of success here, as you know?
Right. When I first got here, I thought that Division I baseball was going to be nitty gritty. Like, if you mess up, coach is going to be on your butt, and he is totally the opposite, and is super. Obviously, if you're not playing hard, not hustling, and whatever, then he's going to get after you. But he is somebody that isn't necessarily down your throat, and is more of a, hey, like, your team's got your back. We're gonna, you give up 4 runs in 4 innings, and he'll come out to the mound and say, hey, we're gonna find a way to win the game, and just super supportive. So it's a blessing to be able to play for him and all the coaches that we have here.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Going back to the pitcher-catcher thing for a minute. For those who may not know, we just started this podcast in the fall. You had to play catcher here for a couple of games. Back in 2021, we had some catcher injuries. Ulick and Rask had gone down, and you stepped in. Was it the day that you pitched a game you also started the next game catching? I don't remember. I was there.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
We were playing Illinois State, and COVID was still around, and we had 4-game conference series on the weekends. And I believe the first game on Saturday was a 7-inning game, and I was in the 5th inning, and Austin Ulick, our catcher, who was the only healthy catcher at the time, hit a ball to the warning track and was rounding first base and tweaked his hamstring and just fell to the ground. And he was the 3rd out, and I was actually jogging back out onto the field, and Coach Rhodes was like, go put the gear on, it's in the locker room. And I didn't have time to think, didn't have time to even put a cup on.
Goodness.
Literally just went back there and started catching.
He just threw you into the danger zone, man. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, but I mean, it was fun to be back there again. For sure.
Yeah, also got you a double and an RBI if I remember correctly too. So was that like when you went up to the plate that day? You're like, okay, I'm just not going to try to strike out. As long as I don't strike out, it's fine. Or did you know when you go up? Okay, I think I could put a good hard hit on this one.
I mean, I feel like I kind of have a competitive spirit, so I don't want to just not strike out. Like, I want to help my team any way I can, even if I haven't hit in a year. And I'll tell you, when you don't see pitching for a while, like 88, 90 seems like 120.
Mm-hmm. So, definitely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was something crazy.
It was awesome to watch, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, we're going to take it back from catching to the pitching. What pitches are all in your repertoire? We kind of want to know, are you working on developing any more? Maybe we'll see something sneaky coming out in one of these coming games?
My first year and a half here, I was just fastball, changeup, curveball. And then I was struggling to get some right-handed hitters out just because my changeup doesn't play super well to righties.
Mm-hmm.
And in scouting reports, coaches see that and they're like, okay, we're just going to sit fastball, curveball on this guy. And I added this year, and towards the end of the year last year, I started adding a cutter or slider, and that's really, really helped me a lot against the right-handed hitters. So
Gotcha. And which one of those, you kind of answered the question. So with your go-to pitch with those right-handed hitters, but do you have one that you're just like, right? We take it back to this hypothetical scenario. 9th inning, 3-2 count. You got to get them. What are you throwing?
I'm throwing the changeup.
Nice. Nice. That's what we like to hear. Yeah. And so you had a huge win against SEMO last night by the time of us recording this. That's obviously our rival,
Absolutely.
And SEMO's been a really, really good baseball team, obviously, these past couple of years, just like us. That's got to be a huge momentum builder with a team that's already been playing super well recently.
Right.
Take us into the mindset of the locker room, the coaching staff. How'd you guys feel after that great win last night?
Yeah, anytime you can beat a good team, I mean, they've won the OVC however many years in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they're an established team that is making it into the NCAA tournament at the end of the year. And anytime that you can beat a team that goes to the tournament, it kind of gives you that little, okay, we deserve to be there too.
So. Absolutely. And Coach Rhodes went there, so it means a little bit more to him
Absolutely.
as well.
Yeah.
It means a little bit more. The expectations for this season are unlike anything that SIU's experienced here in the last maybe decade or so. 44 wins last year, 40 the year before.
How have you guys managed that so far? Obviously, getting off to a little bit of a slow start to start the year, but now you've won 12 of 13 at this point. What's been the key to that turnaround?
I think when we, like you said, we were struggling at the beginning of this year, and when you've had successful 41 years in the past, it's like, dang, like this is actually how hard it is to win. And it's not necessarily that we were just like spoiled with winning, but I think we had a lot of new guys come in, and some of us, the guys that had already been here, had to kind of step up into some leadership roles. And I don't know that it took a while for that to happen, but I think it was just, we can't just roll out there and beat a team. We've got to go out there and grind for 27 outs and play all 9 innings.
And it definitely felt the last couple of years that like there were even some conference games where you guys could just go out there
Absolutely.
and win. And then this year you still have a lot of the same guys, but just enough new blood to where you feel like, okay, you got to create a new identity.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
that's been fun. It's been fun to see you guys turning it around and 8-1 in conference right now. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, and so right, sitting at 8-1 in conference, we talked a little bit about mindset just recently. You've got a big weekend series against Evansville, obviously. It's going to be at home, which I'm sure is nice for all you guys. But what? How's the team looking at that weekend? What can we expect from our guys?
I think that anytime you go into a weekend at home, it's obviously a huge benefit to play here at the stadium and have all the guys up on the hill. And but you never want to make somebody seem like a giant, and you never want to make somebody seem smaller than they are.
Totally.
So you got to go in just like it's anybody else, and prepare to dominate. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Gotcha.
One thing I was going to say too, I talked a lot about this on the podcast, and that starting pitching was going to be the key for this team this year. And it seemed like for a while you guys were mixing and matching who's going to be the starter. The best thing for me the last couple of weeks is seeing how guys like Easton and Paul, who started the year on the mound, have now transitioned to the bullpen, and they've been fantastic out of the bullpen. So do you as a pitcher now, when you're up there, you have a little bit more ease of mind knowing that if you have maybe not your best night, there's a guy in the bullpen who can go 5 scoreless just like that. Paul in particular has been fantastic.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable. But yeah, like you said, anytime that I might not have my best day, like it's hard to have your best day every single day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So anytime that you can rely on, like, Paul's got my back, I believe in him 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for a whole lot of guys out of our bullpen. And I think that our coaches have done a great job with bringing in guys that where the hitter steps in the box, it's strike 1, strike 2. And when our pitching staff is able to do that, then it's a rough day for the hitters.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I believe that's all the questions that we have for you. Good luck on the rest of the season. Thanks so much for joining us. And
I actually have one more.
Oh, then go right ahead.
Fellow 217 guys here.
Absolutely.
Have you ever had a horseshoe before?
Ooh.
What?
You know what a horseshoe
Oh,
is?
Springfield like horseshoe?
Yeah.
Oh, of course I've had a horseshoe. Get out of here.
And are they not the greatest thing on earth?
Well, gracing on earth might be a stretch, but they're absolutely delicious. I love them.
Do you agree with me in that sentiment, or are
They're
you kind
good
of
while
burnt
you're
out
eating
on
it afterwards.
Okay, that's fair. No, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. Is Darcy's the best? Darcy's okay. Thanks.
All righty.
That's all I got.
Yeah. Like I said, thank you so much for joining us, and this has been this week's episode of Fluky Space. Alrighty, folks. On this week's Told You So, we're heating up in Cole's section. We got the NBA playoffs starting. So let's start off with our 3 takeaways. Number 1, true contenders out of the West. Here's my list of true contenders, all right? Hear me out. Suns.
Mm-hmm.
I think Suns are number 1, in my opinion. Warriors. And I think I gotta go Nuggets, just because they're the 1 seed. Nikola Jokic is so dominant. But they're kind of just, this Nuggets team, they remind me of the Jazz, like a couple of years ago, where yes, they are definitely a threat. I mean, you wouldn't want to face them as a 4 or 5 seed, say they were the 1 seed. But I think that the most interesting part about it is they just don't really have any like real defenders. And the thing that we learn year in, year out is that we need real legit defenders.
Mm-hmm.
And Nuggets don't really have one of those. They got a lot of like wing guys like Aaron Gordon, who's pretty good. But did they have Malik Beasley? Did he trade them to? Yeah, they traded him to the Lakers, but now the Lakers got him. So think that's interesting. Out in the East, this is the one that I think the champ is going to be in the East this year, and it's going to be between the Bucks, the Celtics, and Sixers. And I'm not even sure how the Celtics. It's tough because they do show up in these big games. Now they're battle tested. Usually that next year is going to be pretty good for you, but I'm just not sure if they can get it done. Marcus Smart isn't playing nearly to the ability that he's supposed to be playing to. I'm just not particularly sold on this Celtics team, although I love them. I love Jason Tatum, I love Jaylen Brown, but last year exposed a lot of their weaknesses. I love the Bucks. The Bucks are my pick. If I had to pick, I think it's a Bucks-Suns championship. And as much as I really do want Giannis to get as many as possible during his career, so that we can really start having like more debates of like Giannis or LeBron.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I'd love if Giannis overtook
That would be
LeBron.
awesome.
Because Giannis is the most uncorny person ever.
Yes.
But that being said, I think it's interesting to see, like, they have Drew Holiday, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Brook Lopez. Those are like 3 out of the top 6 defenders even in the league. So I guess Giannis probably isn't top 6, but even still, I mean, up for Defensive Player of the Year. They're all really, really incredible. And I'm going to be rooting for the Bucks, and I'm really rooting for a Bucks-Suns championship just because I think the storyline would also be great there too. But really anybody's got a shot this year. It's not comparable to March Madness, but in some ways it kind of is. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jake Cruz?
I think the West, that's definitely true.
Yes.
Anybody's got a shot in it. And if I were to tell you power rank, not based on record, wins, whatever, power rank the teams in the West, seeds 4 through 6 would probably be 1, 2, and 3. As crazy as that sounds, like the Clippers, well, now when fully healthy, although PG looks like he's going to miss a little bit of that series, which sucks. But Suns, Clippers when fully healthy, and then the 6 seed Warriors would probably be 1, 2, and 3 if I told you to power rank teams, right?
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah.
Would you agree with
that's
that?
Probably.
And then, Lakers when they're at their best, they'd be up there too. And so I think that we're seeing the residual effects of an NBA regular season that just isn't taken seriously by like half the league, and where these teams are getting lower seeded, sometimes having to play each other, like in the case of Suns and Clippers, when we all know that the Suns and Clippers are probably 2 of the top 5 teams in the West, but one of them is guaranteed to lose in the first round. So that kind of sucks from a viewer perspective. Now,
Completely agree.
shift to the East, or it's like the perfect, it's the perfect setup. The best teams are at the top. I think you'd agree with me on that. And the teams that have some talent, but have severe flaws are at the bottom, like our Chicago Bulls and every team in the East playing really. So I think the East is definitely more entertaining, and I think will be more entertaining as we continue to get deeper into the playoffs. Or I think the West might die down.
I think the entertainment in the West is going to happen right away.
I do too.
It's like all of these. I'm really excited to see every single one of these.
Yeah.
But then it's going to be Warriors and Suns. Dang, that's fun. I mean,
that would
Warriors
be
and Suns would be great.
really.
But even still, I mean,
But
I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying, and it's one of those things where we know that the Kings and Grizzlies, especially, and the Nuggets, none of those 3 teams really play that much defense, like at all.
They don't.
The Grizzlies remind me of the Vikings in football, where we know that they are fraudulent. Know it's.
I don't know if we know they're fraudulent. Maybe
I
this
think
is
we
like
know
the
they're
year
fraudulent.
they come out. You never know.
The Grizzlies are fraudulent. The Kings are a team that just they can shoot the lights out, but they don't play any defense. Nuggets, they've got Jokic, but they're not really like the athletic of a team. They don't really play good defense, like you just got done saying. So I still think it'll be entertaining. It's just it's going to be an adjustment to see those lower seeds in the West go as far as they will. But again, it won't be surprising, I guess.
Do the Bulls move on against right now? It'd be the Raptors. They play.
Wait, hey,
sorry,
don't get ahead of
I don't
ourselves,
wanna-
there,
sorry.
mister.
I just saw the
Let's
Bulls
not get
there, and
ahead
I
of
got
ourselves.
2 Bulls fans in front of us.
On to my next point.
Yeah.
I think that this one's really fun because every year, at least in the past 2 or 3 years, we've seen one player gain villain status.
Yes.
And Trae Young against the Knicks, right? And he goes all the way. Excuse me. John Morant and the Grizzlies the next year, they get this villain. Actually, everybody was rooting for them in the playoffs, but they still had this kind of aura to them, and now they are. So I'm going to continue with the trend of newer, younger teams making the playoffs. Hear me out. Kings facing the beloved Warriors. I think that De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk backcourt.
I agree.
I think they're going to win, it's going to be a 2-2 series.
Yeah.
And then forgive my potty mouth, but I think De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk are going to start talking their shit. I don't think it's going to work, but I do think that De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk are going to start yapping their mouths. It's going to go
Yeah.
back and forth, Draymond. It seems like Draymond causes like all of these, like he did with the Grizzlies last year.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I think that it's the Kings' world right now. We're just living in it. And
Yeah.
I'd really like to see those two Kentucky guards just start going absolutely buck wild.
Absolutely. No, it's a city that deserves this. Hasn't been in the playoffs in forever. Got screwed out of the 2002 Western Conference Championship that everyone's pretty aware of. So, yeah, they deserve it, but just one of those things when you see the Warriors go up against them, they're healthy now.
Yep.
The Warriors are healthy now.
They're going to be bringing back Andrew Wiggins,
Which-
which could be a good thing and a bad thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because he's not coming back until the playoff game.
No,
Which
but
is weird.
but even so, even without him, honestly, again, we talked about the flaws with the Kings, and I can just see I can see them sweeping them up. As much as I hate to say that, and I don't want that
Here's
for the
what I'm
great
saying.
city of Sacramento, California, but I think we're in danger of that.
The only reason I completely disagree with you is because Sacramento's hosting.
No, I know.
And
but-
because, I mean, dude, light the beam, buddy. 3 words, light the beam.
I was
Light
gonna
beam.
ask you guys about that. What in the world is the beam?
It's the beam.
Just a light beam.
It's
is
just
that
a
what
light
it
beam.
is?
It's every time
it's
the
so
Kings,
funny to me.
every time the Kings win, they light a beam over the stadium. And it's super cool. It's super
That
fun.
is really cool.
I'm in on it.
I hope we get at least one.
I think Kings win game 1. That's what I'm
I could see.
coming out.
I could see them winning game 1 and then Warriors winning 4 of the next 5.
I hope you're
Or
wrong.
sweep. I hope I'm wrong too,
But I
but I'm
hope so.
trying to think with my head and not my heart.
So you're right. Anyways, next, I think this is a fun little thing that we can discuss. Top 5 play-in players. Now, I think this is pretty easy. Number 1's LeBron. I have my number 2 is SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander,
Mm-hmm.
point guard for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm rooting for the Thunder hard at this play-in, man. I want them in. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Jimmy Butler, I think, goes 3. Anthony Davis goes 4 in my book. I know he's had a great year, but I'm notoriously anti-Anthony Davis. He's hurt all the time. Who knows if he'll even survive through the Timberwolves
Yeah.
game.
Mm-hmm.
Rudy Gobert might punch him. We'll talk about that in a
He
bit.
may, yeah.
And I had a number 5. This was tough. I was going between Trae Young, Brandon Ingram, and DeMar DeRozan. And I landed on, I think Brandon Ingram is... Oh, and Anthony Edwards. I forgot to mention him too. But I think that Brandon Ingram is just like the most solid guy. The Pelicans have been lighting it up recently, and so that's just segue right into my picks for the play-in and how that'll turn out. Granted, the audience will know by the time this comes out, but you guys will be seeing this right away. I'm going to get them 100% correct, as I
Yes.
always do.
Yes.
So, I think the Lakers get the 7th seed. I think they beat the T-Wolves, especially after the nightmare that was the Timberwolves last night.
Yeah.
For those who aren't aware, Rudy Gobert punched his teammate in the middle of a huddle. He was like, "Wah!" and they punched
to
him.
get a rebound.
Just
yeah.
wild. I hate Rudy Gobert so much. We don't need to get into
He
that.
started COVID, basically.
He basically started
Yeah,
COVID,
yeah, yeah.
for those that know. And then they're one of the best defenders in the entire NBA. I can't remember whether it's Jalen or Jade McDaniels. Jalen, yeah. I get him and his brother confused, but PSA to all the parents out there, don't do the whole Jaden Jalen thing. All right, don't do that.
That's
don't do like
confusing.
It always confuses me. I'm very anti that. Shout out all the parents out there. Don't do the whole like, oh, his name's Jordan and the other one's name's Gordon. Like, don't do that.
That's
no one
bad.
likes
That's
that.
Bad.
No
That's
one's with
terrible.
that.
Yeah.
That's why the Lakers will beat the Timberwolves. No, Jalen McDaniels, he's walking out of because he got 2 fouls and he punches the wall, fractures his hand. So everything's going awry for the Timberwolves right now. I don't see the way they make it. I've got the Pelicans sneaking to the 8th seed, which means that they will beat the Thunder, which you don't know how badly I wanted to type out Thunder making it to the
Oh,
playoffs.
I know. That
But
was
I
so
don't
awesome.
think they do. I really hope they do, but I don't think they do. Pelicans, they've been playing really, really well recently. They finally started getting some momentum. I don't know how they even got this far back in the first place, but nevertheless, they're going to beat SGA and the Thunder, and then they'll go on and beat the Timberwolves, who, like we talked about, are just a mess right now. Which is a shame, because I really wanted to see Anthony Edwards in a
I did
playoff
too.
series,
Yeah.
just like we did last year. That was kind of his... It wasn't his coming out party, but it's when, like, the fans who just tuned in for the playoffs, they were like, whoa, who's this
Right.
6'7" super athlete?
Mm-hmm.
On the eastern side of things, you've got the 7th-seeded Heat going up against the 8th-seeded Hawks. I think the 7th-seeded Heat win, and to go ahead and play the Celtics in the first round. Pretty scary for the Celtics, honestly. That's the team you do not want to face.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have the Hawks playing and this one hurts, because I want to pick Bulls. But if the Bulls got any of these 3 other ones, I would have picked them over the Heat.
Totally.
Hawks.
Yeah.
But the Raptors are a terrible matchup.
They are.
They're long, lanky. They've got every single defender they can
They
throw.
have a point guard.
DeMar DeRozan, they do have a point guard, unlike us.
We don't have a point guard.
And I just think it's an absolutely awful matchup for us, and unfortunately we are gone with the win.
Yep.
But then I think that the Hawks do close out the Raptors, and they slide into that 8 spot. So that's how I see the play-in tournament shaping out. Give me some leeway, dude. Do the Bulls beat the Raptors? Come on.
No.
No, I know. I was hoping you'd disagree.
I'm
with
hoping
me.
that they do, just because we're saying this right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be
It's
rooting so hard for them. Believe me, I want to see them make a magical run. My college team made a magical run in their conference tournament as a 13 seed.
Mhm.
So I'm like, that's the only thing that I can do to convince myself. Maybe the Bulls. Maybe they can. No,
maybe.
it's not gonna happen. Is it crazy that and I'll touch on this again. I think any team 4 seeded or lower, like 4 through 10 in the West, could be the 1 through 3 seeds.
Say that again.
I think any team 4 through 10 could legitimately beat the 1 through 3 seeds in a series.
In the East
In the West.
too? Okay.
No,
in
just
the West.
Just the West. I'm saying there's a over 20% chance in all of those.
Got a little Skip Bayless over here.
No. That's not even a hot take because we talked about.
I don't think the Thunder have one. I think if the Thunder play the Nuggets, which is how it has to be if they win,
Sure.
the Thunder have a absolute 0% chance. They don't even have a center.
0%.
They don't even have a center.
You don't think they could beat the Grizzlies?
But then they might do the playoff thing where they just stretch Jokic out.
Exactly. You don't think that they could beat the Grizzlies or the Kings either? The Kings would probably be the best matchup for them.
Yeah, but
Because if the Kings have 2 bad shooting nights, like, they're done.
Hey,
pretty much.
you're catching a lot of Kings
No, I
slander.
love
Don't
the
forget
Kings.
to light
No.
the beam, buddy.
If of any team in the West, the Kings is the one I want to win it.
Oh,
Trust
no,
me, I would love for
agree.
the Kings to win it. I want them to win the whole thing, but I'm trying to be honest here.
No, you're right. I mean, you are.
And I hope I'm wrong. Again, I hope we clip this and next week, play it, and the Kings have,
Kings
it
are
won't be
up
next week,
3-0
but
on
like
the
a couple
Warriors.
of months, yeah.
Wouldn't it be okay? Let me just throw up a scenario, and then we'll go on to because I want to talk about the NFL draft.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be hilarious? This would be just Kings fan luck, right? Kings fans, ooh, light the beam. First time playoffs in what, like 20 years?
Yeah.
Ooh, they win. They go 2-0 against the Warriors. Whoa! And then they
Yeah.
go into what's it called? It's not Oracle anymore. What's their stadium?
Oh my
called?
gosh.
Why are we
yeah.
drawing a blank on this? Is it like a bank or
Chase.
something? Yeah,
Chase.
yeah,
Chase
Chase.
Center or
The
something.
Chase Center. They go in, they win one. Oh my God, they were up 3-0.
Right,
That's
yeah.
never happened before.
Yeah.
And then the Warriors come
Come
back.
back.
And
No, I
they'll
can
be the
see it.
first team ever to come back.
All
from down 3-0.
possibilities are on the table for this Kings Warriors
That's
They
never
have-
happened in NBA.
In the NBA, it's a team has never come
it's
back.
happened with baseball. The
Yeah.
MLB, with
Yeah.
Red Sox.
Because I was
That's
always
that's-
curious about that.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Because I was like, they never say that stat when they're coming out of baseball. Well, I know why now. But
Yeah.
I don't know. This feels like a magical year. 4 seed UConn wins. Whenever UConn wins the title,
Yeah.
man, it's a crazy sports year.
I have a Kings story. Can I tell it real quick?
Tell the King story.
So remember when they had Tyrese Halliburton?
Mhm.
He was balling.
Mhm.
So I loved him. He was like honest. I hadn't really liked an NBA player in a long time. But
To
for
be-
some reason,
well,
I just really liked him.
To be clear, why are you talking about him like he's been out of the league for like 10 years? He's still like a
when I
very
finish the
active
story,
player.
when I finish the story, you'll understand.
Okay.
So I went and I bought a Kings Tyrese Halliburton
That is
jersey.
I respect that.
Jersey.
I respect that.
2 weeks later, he gets traded to the Pacers.
It's your fault. It's
That's
your
what-
fault.
So now I'm scared to. That's why I'm scared to like buy player jerseys now because
Mhm.
I'm worried that they're gonna just leave that team and then it'll be gone.
Isn't like American Express or something that gives you like jersey insurance? Like if you're a sports fan
What?
and you use something. Yeah,
What?
there's some
Well, I don't have
bank
American Express.
that if
so-
you buy a jersey and that guy gets traded at the trade deadline, like within a full year, like within a full calendar, like you can't like, oh
Yeah.
LeBron left for the Lakers. Can I get?
Interesting.
You don't get that, but you
Yeah.
can trade in your jersey and they'll get you one of the new team that he's on.
No free ads, but
They,
sports fans.
will they just give you a
American Express.
refund or like what?
No, they get that. You say,
You get the
hey,
new player's jersey.
you say, hey there, I got a deal with American. I got an
Wow.
American Express card, so how I bought it. I'm giving American Express a lot of praise. It couldn't just not be them. But they're like,
Sponsorship.
yeah.
So you don't have American Express.
And so that no, and so
Okay,
you turn
alright.
it
So
in,
it's not an ad.
That's
and then you
wow.
get it on back.
That's kind of cool.
You guys haven't seen
That
the
is
commercial?
really cool.
I feel like you guys are not in the commercial game nearly as much as I am.
I guess not.
What is in the
Like
commercial
commercial
game? What does that mean?
I'm just saying, I talked to Jay Cruz before about famous commercials that I enjoy, and then he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. could be getting you mixed up with
He
somebody.
could be.
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think we
NFL
ever had
draft.
that conversation.
NFL draft.
Speaking
Jake
of
Cruz.
teams that are looking toward the future, even though we didn't really talk about that, I've got 5 big questions for the NFL. I like this. I like this kind of format. 5 questions. So let's just lay it out.
Good.
This one's a little bit of a thinker. I don't even know if I have a first sure. You know what? No, I do. I do. First one. This is a thought exercise for you guys. Who is a player that over the last couple of months, since draft season officially began, combine, et cetera,
After post championship.
post-championship,
Okay.
that you've changed your mind on over the last couple of months, whether that be good or bad, whether that be you think he should go to a different team, you think he should be drafted higher or lower. I'll go ahead and start us off
I
here.
like this.
For me, that player is Paris Johnson Jr., tackle out of Ohio State.
Of course it is.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say
Ohio
that. I knew
State
you were going to
fan.
say that.
Oh, I wonder why.
No,
and apparently he's the best tackle in the draft now.
Oh,
I
he
thought
is.
about it.
He
Well,
is.
You know, Skronsky's still there, but
He is. I legitimately think, and this isn't me crunching film. This is actual like coaches who know what they're talking about crunching film. These also are not guys on PFF who just put out lists for clickbait and stuff. This is like a person who just does this because that's his job and he loves it.
mm-hmm.
He said
Coolest guy under the bridge.
he
yeah.
said on a show I listened to. He said on a show
I
that
love the Buckeyes.
I frequently listen to that Paris Johnson is one of the best offensive line prospects of the last couple of years, and I don't remember all the details. I'll send you the link if you want to listen to it. But he listed off all the different things about his game and how he performed against the best teams. That was primarily his argument too.
No, it makes
Over
sense.
a guy like that, who's the second best prospect. Let's say Paris Johnson is number 1. Skronsky is the guy that people have been talking about as the second best offensive line prospect. They've been talking about him switching from guard to tackle to, or from tackle to guard to Skronsky. So clearly, there's a lot of red flags around him. I
I
think
don't think it's a red flag. I think it's just you have the ability to have Quentin Nelson from a couple of
Yeah.
years ago, a guy who literally just does not allow sacks.
I don't think this is going to happen. But if you were to rank the best players in the NFL draft, not like where they're going to be picked, I think Paris Johnson would be top 5. Honestly.
Cow, man.
Yeah.
What?
If you just best players. If you were to do a best players in the draft list,
Best players
Paris-
in the draft.
yes, Paris Johnson would be top 5.
That's blasphemous.
Because let's just be honest about something.
Okay, well,
Will
I'm
Levis,
trying to be honest, but you're coming on
Will
the podcast
Levis
and
is
lying.
not a top 10 player
No.
in this draft, but he
No.
might get drafted higher than Paris Johnson. So that's
Yeah.
the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah,
Like he's not a better overall player than Paris Johnson, but he's probably going to get drafted higher
I
if
get
the
that.
team falls. So that's the point I'm trying to make.
No, I understand that. I totally do.
Yeah. So anyway,
I do. He's my favorite tackle.
Yeah, so-
I think Strauss is going to get moved
Yeah.
to guard, but
So for me, that player is Paris Johnson. This is the Paris Johnson podcast now.
Clearly.
Who have you guys changed your opinion on recently?
well, there's 2 that come to mind.
If it's a guy that I have listed for another segment, don't say it, by the way.
Ooh.
So double check that. Just make sure.
Well, I skimmed it, so hopefully not. But the one guy that I think I've talked about on this pod, C.J. Stroud, is up there for me. I don't think he was my number 3, stayed my number 3, but I would pick him number 1 over
Good
Bryce Young.
man.
And I like Bryce. I like Bryce better, but
Wait,
I
what?
think that when you have the number 1, what?
You gotta explain
I'd
that.
pick
You
him
just-
number 1, but I like Bryce
Bryce
better.
is better.
So what do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah. So my point is that this is something that we talk about. At least I listen to people talk about in the NBA a lot. Is like if you miss on C.J. Stroud, nobody blames you, because it's this guy that he's just prototypical. He's 6'4".
Yep.
If he fails, nobody's gonna blame you.
Right.
They're gonna go, oh, okay, well everybody would have picked him number 1. You picked Bryce Young number 1. Number 1, the guy who there's rumors he's not even like 5'10"
No.
without shoes.
He's new Kyler, pretty
And-
much.
Yeah, but skinnier. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Kyler was bulky.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce is way skinnier.
Yeah.
And so when you take a guy like that, number 1, like that's, to me, that's something that a GM might lose his job over.
For sure.
So, I was a little critical. I watched a lot of the Georgia tape. I didn't get a chance to watch the game live, which was a shame. But, CJ can put it on. I think he's still my number 3 guy, but nevertheless, the guy that I've been seeing a lot of noise about, and this is part of the reason probably why he's bumped up for me, is Darnell Wright, another tackle.
From Tennessee. Yeah.
I've been hearing lots of really good things, and I think you talk about the competition he faced. He didn't force a single sack this year.
No.
He's going up against SEC defensive
Will
ends.
Anderson was nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
In that
He
game.
completely shut down
Yeah.
Will Anderson. Now,
Mhm.
as we all know, I'm not the highest on Will Anderson either. Still
Mhm.
great. I'd still pick him top 5, but those are the guys for me. Joey B.
For me, I feel like you guys are going to make fun of the way I'm going to put this, but Anthony Richardson, I saw a lot of just crap about him, shitting on him all over TikTok, of all places.
Well,
That was my main source of like NFL draft stuff because I guess I don't really follow college as much as you guys, of course. But anyways, I just saw a lot of shit about Anthony Richardson during the season and then right after the season, and then at least lately, I've just seen a lot more positive film on him, at least in terms of an athletic sense. He looks like he could be like even better than Lamar, possibly. I know you
More athletic or better than Lamar? Better than Lamar is a crazy statement.
more athletic at
Yes.
least. I don't know about
maybe like a higher ceiling potentially.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the best way
Yeah.
to put it. A higher ceiling than Lamar.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's necessarily me changing my mind about him because I didn't really have a real educated opinion about him beforehand, but that's just somebody who I've gained more information about, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. The thing with Richardson, man, I can't help but think of the fact, and that's the problem. Is a lot of people aren't thinking like this. I'm not saying I'm the greatest thinker in the world.
He is, folks. He is.
Richardson, he went 6-6 last year.
I just don't.
He went 6-6, and you can't say he didn't have weapons. You can't say he didn't have a good team, like talent around him. Now that Florida team was doomed from the start. I think their new coaching staff, a team with a lot of talent but a lot of egos as well. I'm not saying he should have gone 9-3, 10-2, but the fact that he went 6-6 and the tape doesn't lie, guys. The tape doesn't lie. Some of the throws that
You're right.
he made were just like puke worthy. Like if I had a bucket, I'd puke in it right
Tape
now.
doesn't lie. Did you see that 360 pump fake spin move over
How many
Utah?
times did he do that this year?
Whew,
That was
baby.
in the first game of the year against SEC competition. He was just terrible most of the time.
My counter argument against that is, sure, if you give him literally an NFL offensive line like C.J. Stroud had with NFL wide receivers, I just think that's so hard to tell with these guys. I would not start Anthony Richardson right away.
Yeah.
I would do the Justin Fields thing with him.
Yeah.
Let him sit for 4 weeks, but you gotta find it out soon. You can't do the whole Trey Lance thing, and now look where the Niners are at. They have no clue what to do. They're starting Brock Purdy. Not that's a bad move, but you traded so much to get Trey that you'd rather just get a solid guy. So if he's like this electric player, get him in there. Get him in at least for have him run a read option every now and again, randomly in the games. I'm high on Anthony Richardson, but obviously
and we'll get into a lot more stuff about Anthony Richardson because we could probably talk about this for 2 hours, just with how polarizing he is. Let's go outside the top 10 though. There's a lot to talk about what's going to happen in the top 10. I guess this still kind of has to do with it, but which team currently sitting outside the top 10 do you think is most likely to trade into it? I have an answer for this.
Yeah, I'd like to hear yours.
I'm hoping that
me and
this,
Joe are looking.
and I am hoping and praying that this team does this because in the past they haven't, but they need a freaking quarterback. It's the Tennessee Titans, currently sitting at 11. Are you really just
Ryan
gonna-
Tannehill.
Yeah, do you hear yourself talking
that
right now?
guy?
Do you hear yourself talking right now? I think it's the Titans. For me, they need a freaking quarterback, man. They need to get, even if it's
But would you trade? Because you're gonna have to get a lot of. You're gonna have to give up.
I
a
can
good
see
amount of
them get.
assets.
But again, I guess it just all depends on if they really like somebody, then they'll do it. But I don't know. They need to do it. They need to either trade up to 3 with Cardinals or trade up to possibly 6, the Lions pick. But I don't see the Lions going away from 6. So
Don't go away from 6 Lions.
no, they may, but I don't think they should.
I got something that I think
What?
may not make sense, but it may. I don't know. I just really want to know what the hell is going to happen with this Aaron Rodgers stuff. I want to know if the Jets are going to get rid of their first round pick. So if the Jets get rid of their first round pick, I feel like they will definitely get into the top 10. And they'll want to get a wide receiver.
What do they want a wideout? Don't they want a quarterback? Because Jordan
Well, they
Love
would-
is trash.
I'm not talking about the Packers. What do you mean? I'm talking about the Jets.
Oh, I'm following.
Yeah.
I think the Jets would trade into the top 10, probably get a wide receiver, Jackson Smith and Jigba, maybe.
Yeah.
I could see it totally happening because they just got rid of
Elijah
wide
Moore.
receiver. Elijah Moore.
Mhm.
They just got rid of Elijah Moore recently, and I feel like we would try to get a wide receiver from the Jets.
Yeah.
Whatever young guy they got in there, I can't list whatever names right now, but yeah, I just feel like they would get another offensive weapon for Aaron Rodgers in the top 10.
I think I don't see any of these moving. I hate to not give you an answer here.
Yeah, I'm just posing
I
the question.
really, I just don't see one of them moving into the top 10. What I do see is I'm telling you that Cardinals pick is getting traded. I would bet my house on the Cardinals pick
Your
getting
house.
traded.
Yeah.
I just don't see, they don't need that 3 spot. I mean, I guess that's kind of dumb because anything can happen. Maybe they just keep it, But at the same time, I don't see the point in having it at 3. Like, get a deal done, probably with Indianapolis at 4, the very next spot. Because if they don't get it, then Atlanta or Vegas is going to try and sneak in there.
Yeah.
That's how I see it going. I guess if there was a team, let's go from 11 to 20. I'm looking at the list right now. Tampa Bay is kind of interesting. What the heck are they going to? I mean, they got
really.
Baker,
Kyle Trask, Baker Mayfield.
But I don't want to think about it all just being about quarterbacks. But no one ever trades in for something other than a quarterback. Now I do see, like Pittsburgh. I see Pittsburgh moving up to maybe 13, right, with the Jets. I'm sure they would love to convince themselves that Kenny Pickett and Jordan Addison are going to be like Joey Burrow, Joey B, and Jamar Chase. I do think they really want to get that done, but I think Jordan Addison can fall to them at 17. So
I do too.
I don't think he's going inside the top 10. That's really the only thought that I had on the subject.
Makes sense.
Jalen Carter has been the name that's been definitely the most talked about in this draft cycle. Outside of the other QBs, obviously. At the beginning of this process, he was a top 3 pick, surefire, maybe even the number 1 pick. There were a lot of people who were saying the Bears should just take him because he's the best player, right? Well, then situation happens with his involvement in the car crash in Georgia, resulting in the death of a couple of people. Now where he's going is completely a mystery. He said he's not meeting with any team outside of the top 10 right now. The question I have for you guys is, where do you guys stand on him right now? We've still got a couple more weeks till the draft, but let's say you're the Lions at 6. New Lions fan here. Are you taking Jalen Carter?
Yeah. He's going to be the best player available, but I think that the Jalen Carter buzz is getting a little, it's a little overdramatic. Now, not to say that he's not a great prospect, but I feel as if we're talking about him like he's Myles Garrett from a couple years ago, like 6 years ago, like a surefire lock. I don't know. I mean, this guy might just be, a very solid guy. Like, granted, he's really, really, really good. I'm not taking anything away from him. Definitely a top 7 pick in my book. But I think that even if this news didn't come out about him, I think there was still a chance that he fell to like 7. I mean, why not? A lot of the teams at the top need a quarterback so bad.
Yeah.
If they didn't all need a quarterback so bad, then yeah, I mean, Jalen Carter's top 5 talent. But
Sure.
He's going to get taken after Anthony Richardson. I think I would lock that in right now.
Yeah, I would too.
And when you're battling between that and like a Will Anderson, they're going to go with the guy who doesn't have an arrest warrant out right now. So
Absolutely. Now, if I was a team that did need a quarterback in the top 10, I think I'd take him too.
I would definitely say, in that situation you mentioned with the Lions at 6, I mean, I'd definitely take him. I don't really, as far as I can tell, this was just a one-off with Carter about the situation with the car crash and everything. I don't really know what the cause of it was, at least from this article that I just looked up really quickly. They're very vague about what information they have about the reasoning behind it all, what they know, but I'm kind of on the situation with Cole. It's getting blown up a little bit more, and we don't really know much about how Carter is, at least behind the scenes as a person, when he's not on the field. At least we haven't been in the locker room, so we can't say how Carter is as a person in general.
Yeah.
He can prove that by doing well and, I guess, just being a good person with whatever NFL team he gets drafted to.
I totally agree. And, as a Bears fan sitting here, if he falls to 9, I'm going to be jumping for joy. Because, the really bad pro day, but I do think once you get him in an NFL weight room, they're going to get him right. They're going to get his motor back up, and he'll be a great player.
I like Carter more than Anderson, but I think that Anderson. I don't know where to fall
though.
You can change my mind easily on Jalen Carter.
This next one is kind of a yes or no question. Should the Houston Texans follow the now popular blueprint of drafting their franchise QB and then immediately pairing him up maybe this year or the year after with an elite wide receiver? Let's say Stroud falls to 2. They pick Stroud. If Smith and Jigba is there at 12, is that not just automatic? You go Smith and Jigba, and now you've got your quarterback and wide receiver for the next 10 years.
I think if Smith and Jigba's there at 12, yes.
Is this a reference to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like part of that is like, I asked that like it wasn't, like I didn't think it was. Anyways.
I was about to say, was that potentially a reference?
Anyways, my point is, they went to the same college, of course, together. I don't know if you're necessarily just referring to the fact of like a stud wide receiver and a stud QB that went to the same school.
That's what I
if you
mean,
just-
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I would say yes, because we've seen it work at least with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Of course.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Buckaroo.
Yeah.
Bears at 9. Justin
Mhm.
Fields got to share the field a little bit with Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
There's probably some connection there. He probably saw the practices.
Yeah.
Saw who he'd become. I don't know. Where do you fall as a Bears fan? Do you want them taking that pick or no?
I feel like they have other positions. that
Had
they
we
need
not
to
just
worry
gotten
about.
DJ Moore, like I'd say yes, but we did. And I think the Bears still have a couple minor holes at other positions, particularly offensive and defensive line, that I'd rather hit than that. I also just think too, like they did go to college together. Justin has said in interviews that he'd love to play with JSN again, but I don't think, and maybe they still would have a good connection, but I don't think it would be as elite and as strong as Stroud
Yeah.
and Smith and Jigba, because they got a full season as him being the guy. I mean, you remember how great Wilson and Olave were this past year. Smith and Jigba torched them in 2021, statistically at least.
Yep.
He was clearly the better receiver that year. Garrett Wilson has said in the past that the only time he didn't think he was the best player on the field was when he was on the field with JSN. So clearly he's special. I just don't know if that connection with him in Fields is strong enough to take him at 9 over a guy on the line.
How many times until the draft do you feel that Jay Cruz is going to mention that Garrett Wilson quote? How many times?
Have I mentioned it? I've probably mentioned
This might
it
be
a
the
million
fourth
times.
time.
Over under 3 more.
Yeah, over
3.5.
probably 7.5. But just mess with you, Jay Cruz. Get to number 5,
but
buddy.
but you know what? The point still stands, right?
Yes.
Number
Of course it
5,
does.
Cole. I know you have a big opinion on this one.
I see the name.
Bijan Robinson,
Oh yeah.
incredible running back, definitely the best in the draft. I don't really think that's even a question anymore. Will he be the best from this class in the NFL? Maybe, but tools wise, he's the dude, right? But is there any reason, given the history of running backs being taken high, to take him? Like if you're the Lions at 18,
Yes.
would you like your Lions to take him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and here's why.
No.
Now, I'm looking at this here because I constantly consider this
Yeah.
because I think Bijan Robinson is so special. Now, luckily, in this year's draft, there's like everybody from 11 to 20 has their running back figured out. That's probably why they're sitting at 11 through 20.
Right.
I mean, right? I'm just gonna list them real quick. 11 Titans have
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. Cleveland has Nick Chubb. Jets have Brees Hall.
That's the Texans now. Though.
Yeah, but okay, the Texans are going to pick him at 12.
Yeah.
Sorry, I shouldn't have thrown that one out there. My bad, folks. I mean, New England, Belichick's too
They're
smart.
not going to do it.
He's not going to do that. Green Bay's got Aaron Jones. Washington's got, they just drafted
Brian
running back last
Robinson.
year, Brian Robinson. Pittsburgh. The first team that I do think would heavily consider it is
Not?
Detroit.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. In that Detroit Super Bowl is, I think, ridiculous. But win the division, not.
Oh,
You lost Jamal Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Are they bringing back Swift or no?
I think he's back.
I
but
should know as a Lions fan,
It
but
kind of feels like he's on the way out, though.
yeah, like I'm not like sold on Swift. They have a
And
lot of
he's
other good
not
offensive
very good.
weapons.
He can't stay healthy.
Like if your team, I saw this theory, which I was licking my chops. I was like, what if the Eagles take him at 10? Because if you're the Eagles, right, you lost Miles Sanders, you still have this great offensive line. You still want to be in that contention. Because Bijan Robinson for the next 5 years is so offensively dynamic that he will help your run game never be worse than 16th in the NFL.
Right.
I wholeheartedly
I agree with you, well, especially if he goes to the Eagles, who are already a great rushing offense.
Exactly. The Lions with that, I mean, it's just this recipe where, like, if you are a team that wants to win your division next year, like the Lions. I think the Lions is like the perfect spot. You have to just grab them and throw them there. Where did Miles Sanders sign? Did he sign with the Seahawks? Because I can't remember. Nevertheless,
Yeah.
because I know
Regardless,
they
he's not
lost
on the
him.
Eagles anymore.
Point is, I've seen him mock to the Seahawks a lot, and I think that's a good one too. Panthers.
Panthers, yeah.
Nevertheless, yes, I say I would draft him top 60.
If I'm
Not
a
like
team,
anywhere in there.
if
but
I'm a team 20 through 30, and a lot of those teams do need running backs, oddly enough, the better teams last year are the ones that need running backs.
Yeah.
That's when you take him right there, and then your offense is
Oh, yeah.
perfect. Bonus thing here, so 6 questions technically. The Ravens just signed Odell Beckham Jr. This is not really draft related, but Lamar looks to be happy with it. They were seen in doofing in the club the other day after the signing was announced. So did that signing surprise you guys at all? I mean, it certainly did me, because the Ravens just don't do that. The Ravens just don't sign receivers like that.
well, what do we consider like a good? Because I don't know if I think Dell's got it.
That's the
anymore.
other side of this, though.
I just don't
yeah.
think
He's
Dell-
too
you're right.
old for a wide receiver.
He's getting old.
There's a reason why he was a 1 year.
Lots of injuries.
How's he gonna be coming off an ACL injury at what 31, 32?
Something like that, yeah.
It's just. It seemed like it was a smart decision by the Ravens because what did they sign him for? I mean, it wasn't a whole lot. Was
1
it?
for 15. That's kind of.
But it's one.
It's.
I'd give up 1 for 20 for just like an average dude.
Mhm.
If you think it's gonna keep your star quarterback happy,
Yeah.
who's been very unhappy as of recently.
Mhm.
So smart move in my book.
I don't know. I don't know if I would sign Odell just in general right now, just any team. I don't know if he fits anywhere in the league right now.
Yeah,
I know
agree.
he's probably better than a lot of like really low tier guys, but he's just another guy on the roster, I guess, at this point in his career. I don't like the idea of giving a 31-year-old wide receiver more than 10 million for 1 year.
Yeah,
For
It's
sure.
just
I agree.
kind of expensive for
Mhm.
for a guy that you don't know if he's gonna mesh well with Lamar as a running QB too. I don't know. I'm not sure if I like it or not yet.
Lamar is a running back, as we all know.
Yeah.
Lamar's already good. And that was NFL.
Joey B,
Baseball,
MLB,
1 weekend.
Lars.
I've been to 2 games this year already in Chicago.
What you
I
doing,
love
buddy?
that. And I didn't even mention when we talked about NBA, I was at the Pistons game. Ivy was pretty interesting during that. But anyways,
Come back home.
MLB 1 weekend. The Rays are the hot topic right now. 9-0. They're gonna go for 10-0 tonight against the Red Sox. But
9-0. Dang.
Mhm.
that's I think it's the best start of any team since the 80s for what I think it was 87 that I saw. But
Something
anyways,
like that, yeah.
the teams they played are pretty hot garbage. So that's just interesting. They play the Tigers, Nationals, and Athletics. And any power ranking list that you see would probably put them at like 30, 28, 27, 26. But yeah, they've played some hot garbage so far. They're going to play the Red Sox that aren't necessarily the greatest team either. So I could totally see them going like 12-0 to start the year.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And some of these freaking pitchers on the teams that they face, like just ridiculous no-name guys.
Yeah.
That, like
Mhm.
honestly, I don't even know half of them that I listed off, so I didn't even put them on here. That's just interesting to me. If they've done so well to start. Point 2, the Brewers resurgence. I know I was there opening day when the Cubs beat the Brewers, but that's one of their 2 losses that they have this year. They freaking crushed the Mets, 10-0 in that first game, and then 9-0 in that second game.
Not
And
the
I think they beat them by like 1 run in the third game. But I mean, that's just so interesting to me that offense just obliterated their pitching, who was supposed to be one of the top rotations of the league this year. I don't think they had like Scherzer starting in those games either, but
Yeah, and Verlander's out too.
yeah, but they just crushed the Mets in that series. So that's just interesting. But will they be a lot better this year than we think? Again, it's just 10 games in or so, 9 games in.
I think a little bit has to do with the fact that they're rookies that they brought up who have little to no MLB experience, are playing so well right now. Give it some time for them to put some stuff on tape. I think pitchers are going to start to figure them out, and the Milwaukee decline is coming.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see it as a Cubs fan.
Oh, I cannot wait. It's coming. It's coming.
I didn't mind seeing them take 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals either this week. So
No, that was fine.
That was fun.
I'm cool with that.
I'm totally cool with that, just like Jordan is. But then that's my next point, just the Mets like collapsing just in general. I love to see. You guys are Barstool Sports fans. Frank the Tank, he's the
it's
huge
awesome.
Mets fan. It's hilarious seeing him rant about them only winning like 50 games this year already after like losing a couple games just at the start of the season. It's just hilarious to see Mets fans just overreact about just a bad start of the season.
Yep.
I feel like they're gonna pull it together pretty soon here, which it leads into my next point. This series this week is the Mets versus Padres, and specifically tonight's game. I feel like is must-see baseball.
Even though our viewers won't be able to watch it after they're hearing this.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be.
You missed out.
Joke's
missed
on you,
out.
viewers.
And I won't be able to miss at least tonight's game because I'll be at work. But it's Yu Darvish versus Max Scherzer. That's just a crazy matchup. Oh my goodness, I'm definitely taking the under for this game, if anything. But yeah, that'll be just an interesting series, and I feel like both those teams have a lot to prove for this whole year. So I'll be excited to see how that goes. And I think they play against each other again in a 3-game series next week, but I think it's in San Diego if I'm correct, because this series is in
New York. Yeah,
but that'll be interesting to watch out for. And then just lastly, I was just kind of looking at some random Google articles on my phone, whatever, and I saw some stuff about the Cubs and Shohei Ohtani as being a sleeper pick. I don't know if that was just smoke that I'm starting to see now, but Jordan, I really want to hear what you think. If there's a real possibility that Shohei might come to Chicago, I know he was listed. The thing that I was reading, at least, he was listed as he listed the Cubs as one of the 7 teams originally that he wanted to play with when he first came to the MLB. So that's just an interesting note to point out. Considering all this trade deadline stuff with him, what say you, Jordan?
Well, it makes sense. It makes sense for a lot of different reasons. We've already got Suzuki, a guy that he loves. They're pretty good friends, playing in Japan, knowing each other. The thing about it is, though, the Cubs, the largest contract the Cubs have ever given out. You know what that is?
I really don't.
Jason Hayward.
Was it really? He was the largest.
7 years, 184. They're not. I'm sorry. And I want this to happen. Trust me. I want this to happen. It's not going to happen. Shohei, he's not coming to the Cubs because the Cubs won't give him that much. They won't give him enough money.
What? Like, put a
deserves
range on
everything.
the asking price for him.
What did Aaron Judge just get per year? Was that 40
per year?
Yeah, I think it was 9,360.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that.
Something around there.
Cole,
like
Aaron Judge contract.
On it.
Jamie looked this up. Jamie looked at it.
I am.
But yeah, I mean, Shohei could totally get like $500 million, like a $500 million contract.
9-year, $360 million.
Right. Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, 40 a year. Shohei's he's at least worth 45 or 50. I just don't see the Cubs giving that up. Again, I really want them to, man.
Please.
I really freaking want them
Take
to.
a pay cut. You know, it's
Yeah.
They have the federal landmark that you'd be playing with half of the season. So
Yeah.
you'd be playing with Suzuki, just whatever.
Your boy.
I would beg on camera to see Shohei in Chicago. I'll do it right now, please. But anyway,
Shohei, we know you're watching. Please come to the Cubbies. Where's he gonna go? I mean, who would give the money?
I could see the Dodgers. I mean,
I'd barf if that happened, but
I would barf too.
but yeah.
The Yankees will do everything they can.
Any team on the West, like he also said that he didn't want to go to a huge market. Now, if the Yankees are giving him like 50, 60
He
million
didn't want to go to a huge market.
No, he didn't. But there are some teams
Not
that aren't
smart,
necessarily
that's why.
considered a huge market, but they still like have a ton of money. Like the Angels is one of them. Makes a lot of sense.
What about Seattle?
Padres is up there, but they've already given so much money there infield. Seattle could, I could see it, but they're probably gonna have to give a lot of money to their prospects.
What about the Rockies? No, I'm just kidding.
The Rockies,
I'm
I
joking
could see. I mean, I could see the Mets
The Mets
because their
would love
owner
the
just
Mets.
doesn't
Or-
really care about luxury
the
taxes.
The Cardinals.
I
think-
don't even speak that into because him and Lars Newbar were friends during the WBC. I'm sure we could find so many clips of him having fun with other players, and then
You could say that about anybody.
Yoshida, well, they're really good. He's on the
Yeah.
Red Sox. That's another team I can see him going to as well. Red Sox.
What about the Stros?
No,
No,
I don't see that.
I don't think he'll want to be
Rangers.
associated with them.
I can see him going to the Rangers because again, they're another team that just doesn't care about spending money. So
At least lately.
I don't know, but it's not going to be the Cubs.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So I'm not even going to get into that mindset.
I shouldn't have even honestly put it as a point.
No, it's
I'm not gonna
okay,
Get,
it's okay.
hyped about it, but
I mean, the fact that he listed us in the first place, though, is kind of
right.
Some.
We can at least-
not all hope is lost, but it's going to be an uphill battle.
We can at least speak it into existence in our heads.
Yes.
you know.
Maybe we'll just start doing that from now on.
Yeah.
Shohei to the Cubs.
Whatever.
There you go.
Shohei to the Cubs. You heard it here first.
All right, let's go do it here for the Shohei to the Cubs podcast. Just kidding. It's been a very sunburnt, messy hair day podcast. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe. And then if you're listening on Spotify, please be sure to like and follow us. This has been episode 22 of the Inside Sports Podcast. Yes, the DE is capitalized. Alrighty. Good stuff.